because I wanted to, by the time we meet again, some of these things are already going to be on their way out, like the ramps, you know?
Yeah, I got them coming up.
Yeah, so you know what they look like.
Yeah.
And so here they are, because I didn't know, you know, most people, maybe they don't know what they look like. So if you look in your pile for what the ramps look like, right now, if you're driving down the road and you look out into the woods and you see that big patch of green,
Yeah.
that's what they are. They're just like the only thing practically growing out in the woods right now.
Can you find a place for me to pull the big truck over so I can go grab them?
So when is the best time to cut them? How tall?
Well, these are a little bit, these are bigger ones. Right now they're still pretty small. Like they were mostly,
Do they get stronger the bigger
they were
get?
mostly like little short like this in the ground, you know, and, but you can see they look kind of like little rabbit ears sticking up. So, you know, they get, these are still kind of small. What I wanted to show you is when you pull them out, they have this kind of papery, just like a green onion.
Just like a green onion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're a little bit stronger tasting, but they grow like that too. You know how green onions grow like all in a little clump?
Yep.
Their roots are all tied together. So they grow in a colony. So you never want to go in and take like that whole patch, okay? You want to take just little pieces from the bigger patches, from around the edges. You just take a few out, and there's a lot of people that don't even pull up the bulbs, because you can just use the leaves. They have the same, so people will go and just cut bags full of leaves and dry the leaves and use them that way or use them fresh. But I like the bulbs because it's more like onion.
Mm-hmm.
They're a little bit hotter. They have a lot of the same properties. They kind of have a mix of the properties that onions and garlic both have. So good for your cardiovascular system, good for anti-inflammatory properties. There's got some blood thinning properties. They've got lots of vitamins and minerals and trace minerals and sulfur. So, you know, nutrition as well as just free onions.
Yeah.
So, and if you're going to dry them, you need to chop them up really small, especially the bulb part. You want to chop that up really small so you can just pull that off and cut the roots off. And the roots you can replant. If you've got a spot where they have similar dirt, so they like it moist, they like really dark, humusy, thick, rich, and they always are like growing around sticks or tree roots or things, so they can be kind of hard to dig. You got to make sure you get way down with your shovel, because otherwise you'll just hack them off in the ground, which, you know, then you take the leaves and use those. But yeah, so I just wanted to bring those to show you. And then that made me think about getting the other pictures out, because there's some of the other things are going to be growing here real soon. I tried to get some popple buds. They're still not ready. So these, I don't have a picture of these, but these are the quaking aspen, balm of Gilead.
I did not just was.
But these are not ready yet. They don't smell yet. They're not sticky.
They don't smell. Okay. So they're slow this year.
They are.
Because I just went and checked.
So that's what they look like.
Last week.
Yeah, and they're not ready. I just went today to check the tree that I was, and I thought for sure I'd have a few at least for you, and I started picking them.
Yeah.
And from the quaking aspen, there's not a picture in there. That's why I brought these on purpose. But these are a little small. So you want to wait till they get a little bit more open, and you'll be able to see the stickiness. But what I did bring is some oil from last year to see if you can catch a hint of the smell. Now this is infused oil, so it's not as strong as the buds themselves are going to smell, but you can just take a, that's the smell you're looking for. Can you smell that? It's kind of,
I love it.
yeah, I know.
They make me sad.
Right?
Yeah. So
Almost like a roasted almond.
It's got
Almost.
a lot of layers of flavor.
um,
Have you smelled that before?
is that a popple?
That's a popple,
Popple.
aspen.
Okay.
But cottonwoods also make this same medicinal resin, and the buds are bigger. So like down by the river, there's cottonwoods. You gotta be careful, what are we downstream from, and all of those cautions when you're picking things, what are we growing in? But if you can find a place, you know, that's down a little bit lower, like in those little creek beds and things, you might get a cottonwood tree, and then it's a lot easier to get enough to make stuff out of. So I just wanted to show you those things. So that's some things that you can start looking for right now. The other thing is the fiddleheads, the ostrich ferns. The woods that I went to look in that were up by my house, they're just like, they're not even, they're still in a little hard clump in the ground. They haven't even started to poke up into their little curlicues yet. So these are also a little bit behind. But as the ramps are coming to an end, that's when you want to start looking for the fiddleheads. And really encourage you to go back to that handout that I gave you last time and look at the cautions and look at the plant ID list, and get your pictures up on your phone or get your book out to make sure that you're finding things properly and you're not getting the wrong one.
How do you know? I mean, I have them all over in our area along the river there, and
If they're the ostrich ferns or not, because there's a couple that looks kind of similar, but there are really telltale differences in what you can look for. It's all in that handout. So basically, and that's the one you're going to get from me.
oh, okay.
Yeah. So
So just, okay.
ostrich ferns have, if you look at your picture, can you see that little brown papery?
Yeah.
Okay, they have a paper cover. Interrupted ferns and other ferns have a white fuzzy cover. We don't want the white fuzzy cover. We want the brown little crinkly paper like an onion skin cover. Ostrich ferns have a groove in the stem, like a stalk of celery or a rib of celery. It's got a like a groove. The other ferns have a round stem. And then also, this is what you could look for right now. The seed heads are sticking up. See that brown thing that's sticking up off to the side? Those are out poking up from the clumps that are still not growing real fully yet. And those are like little flag markers where you'll be able to see. So look for those. And then stinging nettles are starting to come up. Okay, I have to take my vest off. My friend Linda Conroy, she's down in Almond, Wisconsin, which is down by Madison, kind of. She sends a picture today of her apprentice, like task for the day that she gave her apprentices, and there's these racks and racks and racks of nettles drying, just big, huge nettles. I went out and looked in the yard of mine. They look like this little bottom picture. They're just starting. It's just so funny how different it is. But they are coming up too. So that's another one that you want to look for, because the nettles you want to, you got to pick them before they're 18 inches tall, right? Because then they change a little bit and then they're not as friendly to our tummies. So those are probably the biggest ones right now to start looking for. The other ones we can talk more about when we do our next class, because they're a little bit later in the spring. So I just wanted to get those in. And so now we're going to switch gears as soon as you're done taking your notes.
And I saw dandelions out this week. I was excited.
Oh,
Yes.
they are, and they're coming.
Yeah,
I told my
I know.
husband, don't touch them, protect them.
I know, it was like, oh, is there enough to put in the salad? Just wait, they're just little.
See, I want to make a cologne out of them, but I'm not sure how to go about doing that. Because I love the smell of them.
Like the top,
The-
or the green, or the
Maybe
bitter?
The flower.
Okay. Alcohol would be pretty strong. I wonder what would happen if you tried to put them into like witch hazel.
Oh, that would be nice.
Oh, good idea.
Maybe.
Yeah. We're gonna try.
Why not?
There'll be plenty.
That's right. And there's some recipes out there right now for like dandelion capers. Matthew Wood posted one. So there's a bunch. So with the little tiny, before they open up, when the heads are just little balls, and you pick them and you brine them like capers in oil. Okay, so the topic for today is actually sacred herbs, smudging herbs, spiritual ways that we connect with the plants and the herbs, and why do we do that? So, when you go to most herb groups, even small herb guild neighborhood things, or a bigger herb gathering, most of the time they're going to have an opening and a closing. And there's a lot of really nice ceremony and ritual that goes along with being an herbalist, because we are connecting with the plants, who they are, how they help us. They're our elders. We're listening for their wisdom. We want to get clear to the community that we're connecting with. And we want to be thanking the creation, the Mother Earth, for allowing us to have these relationships. And so it's very much a part of herbal gatherings in many different ways. And the ones that we're going to talk about today are the ones that are kind of more indigenous to our area and the way that I've learned from my teachers. So it's kind of a mix of Anishinaabe and also Lakota. Those are so like from the Dakotas, teachers that I've learned from, and other herbalists of my teachers that have shared their wisdom and done ritual at gatherings I've been at. So there was one other handout, the Native Lodge clearing. Did you get that one?
I got 2.
Okay, maybe it didn't get attached. Okay, let's see. I have a copy of it somewhere here. Maybe we can make copies later, but
Oh, I can make copies, no problem.
where is the copy? Anyway, basically how I learned to do smudging of my space is it's got some layers to it. And so in our Ojibwe tradition, there's 4 very sacred herbs. There's tobacco, there's sage, there's cedar, and there's sweetgrass. And those are used very, very much around our area, and it's not just Ojibwe. I mean, tobacco and sage and cedar and sweetgrass are kind of very widespread, used for different kinds of ceremony and clearing. And oftentimes they're used in layers. And that's the lodge clearing handout that we need to get to you guys, is a way to use all of the herbs to clean all of the layers of the essence of the house and spirit. And it's done in stages. You use one herb at a time. You'll see sometimes out in commerce where you'll have this is a bundle of white sage, okay? Sometimes you'll see herbs bundled together, like sage and cedar and sweetgrass, all in one bundle. And some people think that, that's easy peasy and you're getting the whole bang for your buck at once, but there's a lot of people that think that you should do each one separately, because what they do they work differently on the different layers. So when we're using tobacco, tobacco is often used as an offering, when you're going to ask someone a question, or ask the plant a question, or do harvesting. You're giving that as an offering, like a please and thank you, and it's supposed to clear our spirits, and so we can get the messages from our guides. Okay, and this is not just Marlboro cigarette tobacco. There's sacred tobacco that's grown very specially, and the seeds are passed down, and special people grow the tobacco when it's used as a holy herb. For us, if you're looking, you can often get tobacco plants. They're annuals in our area. Bacterial and antimicrobial, and it's a cousin of lovage. So if you have lovage growing in your garden, you can use the lovage root in a similar way as osha. It's got a real similar smell and flavor to it. So there's a bunch of different resins that people will also burn. That kind of is a little bit more concentrated, and sometimes they're harder to work with in a way because they're not like a leafy plant that just burns real easily. They light more like a real hard incense, and they're little kind of chunks usually of hard, almost feel like a stone with their resins and things. Frankincense, copal, and myrrh. Those are very much used historically. I mean, frankincense and myrrh are, the wise men brought those to the baby Jesus because of the cleansing, the realigning, the clearing connections and healing, and to help stay enlightened. So those were reasons that those were brought. The copal is from Mexico. All of these herbs have a real spicy, deep, pungent smell to them. They're very strong. So they do a lot of deeper cleansing, and you really feel them like up in your head when you're in the room with them going. Pinyon pine was one that is a resin that's used commonly, but all pine resins can do similar things. So we don't necessarily have pinyon pine around here, but you could use the resin from a white pine or a spruce tree and get some similar properties of the protection and the healing. Amber and dragon's blood, those are often used too, also for helping people with meditation and to clear our thoughts and our feelings. So people will use like the dragon's blood and amber when they're trying to transition their space, decrease clutter here, that kind of thing. So those are just some.
Why is frankincense on that
Because it's a typo. Because it's really, really important. I probably didn't cut and paste it all together properly from my sheet I was working off of. Down at the bottom, there are some resources there of where some of this information came from for you. And that'll lead you to other things if you want to delve more into this and how to use them. So Um,
Can you use the oil?
you can use the oil, but you can't like burn the oil, you know, but that's still very clearing, you know, so you could diffuse it, you know. So, you know, there's a lot of places where you can't smudge. That's why we're going to go outside when we do our clearing. And at Essentia, if you ever have anybody in the hospital there that this is part of their spiritual practice, in the Miller Dwan building in the chapel, there's a fan, and you can do smudging in there. So when I used to work there, sometimes if we had people that this was part of their spiritual practice, we could help them get down there, and then we could give them the time to do their routine. So, and that's just so big for someone that's out of their element and needs this as part of their healing. So when we're connecting spiritually with the plants, so what we're going to do after we do our own smudging is we're going to do a guided meditation. And we're going to connect and see if we can meet up or be in presence with a plant spirit. Might be a tree, might be plantain, it might be, you know, whoever. We're just gonna guide you through a meditation, and we'll ask some questions, and then we'll take a few minutes to kind of jot things down, and then we can share if we want to what comes to us, and just see how it feels to try and get connected in this way, to try and hear the plants like a lot of our elders and the people that have brought the knowings of what the herbs are good for. This is a lot of the ways that they get the information in dream time, in meditation, by sitting with the natural world and being the student, listening and allowing it in. And the way that you do that is you have to get connected first. And so we smudge and open ourselves up to all those layers, and then we can sit with it. So that's my plan. So a couple other things, because you know we talk about connecting with the spiritual layer, but there's ways to listen that you can try and tap into, because we don't always just hear things with our ears or see things with our eyes. We get messages and hits, and some things that are really interesting. So this, you can take a look at this. We live in community. You know, plants live in community too. There's not just one big tree over here and then a bunch of little trees over there. They're all connected underneath the ground. And the big trees take care of the little trees. You can kind of pass that back as you're taking a look at that. So what happens is the big trees take in more nutrition than they need for themselves. And then they send that down through the roots. And it goes out to their family trees, the saplings that they're growing. And then they feed them, because they're shading them out, so they're not going to get as much sun. So they bring some of the food down and give it to them through the roots. And then those trees then in turn, their roots go down and they're connecting with the next layer. And this is all done with the help of boy, I'm having trouble with my words tonight. The roots of the mushrooms, the spores, the other rootlets that are living in the ground, and the critters. And it's all getting sent out across this whole community. And then the bugs, in turn, once they get back up into the top, they're bringing things to the flowers. You know, so it's just this big circle. So when we are in question mode, or we're sitting with things, we might think that we're going to sit and talk to the oak tree. But then as you're sitting there, someone else might come along over here from down under there, and then that might be who you're supposed to be paying attention to that day. So trying to just kind of stay open to all of the possibles is sometimes the biggest challenge. So, and plants can hear. They can hear us talking. They can hear us humming. They can hear and discern and change their biochemistry because the flowers are their ears. And there's this research that they did, this biologist, Lilac Hadney, and she was working in the Tel Aviv University. And they decided to experiment with the evening primrose that grows around the university because there was a bunch of it. And so in the experiment, they exposed these flowers to 5 different sounds. Okay, they did silence, and then 3 different frequencies of computer-generated, just low, medium, and high frequencies, and they did the sound of bees buzzing. And the flowers didn't respond to the silence. They didn't respond to any of the computer sounds. But when they heard the bee buzzing, it was almost an immediate response. They had a 20% increase in their nectar within 3 minutes. And they held that up for like up to 6 minutes, because the flowers know that if it's been pollinated, pollinators were 9 times more likely to visit a plant that had previously been pollinated by another in that time frame. So they held their nectar up because they thought the other bees were coming to do more work. And then it went back down again. So they can screen out things, and they can also hear us. So when you're talking to the trees, they're really listening. So when you're asking the questions in your meditation, know that on some energetic level, that's really being an interaction happening. Okay? Any questions about this? Okay. What I gave you is 2 different ways that I have been part of someone calling in the circle when we do an opening smudge. We're not going to do this big, long, huge words today because we want to make sure we might have enough time. There's only a couple of us. But these are just a couple of samples. There are so many ways to open a circle and smudge with herbs and use them intentfully and sacredly. So this is just a little introduction, okay? So what you want to do is you got to get some kind of a dish. Normally people will use like a shell or something ceramic, but you got to be able to have something that'll tolerate some heat, okay? And often what we don't do is like smudge this whole, you don't light this whole thing on fire. You can put a little bit of it in the dish, like this is kind of overfull because it was all loose in the bottom of my basket. But in here is sage and some cedar that was left from another time when I was doing some clearing. So you can see how that goes. Tonight we're going to just use the white sage and the sweetgrass. Lots of people will use a feather, or this is a wing from a grouse that was gifted to us. And then I dried the wing out so that I can, and this is used to like spread the smoke. You can just use your hand too, and that works. So what we'll do when we get in the circle and we light the smudge is we kind of put the smoke around, and then kind of sort of wash it over you, and we go all the way around, And we can even do the soles of our feet. And then in some circles, it would, like, I do you, and then you take it and do the next person, and so on. So we can try it that way if you want to, or I can just switch everybody. Do you have a preference? So,
Really, math doesn't matter to me.
okay. Well, let's try it. Let's see what happens. You might have to turn this a little bit more just to keep it going out here with the breeze. Okay. So you light it, and then it kind of goes out, and that's what creates the smoke. We're just going to circle around, and we're just asking for clarity, and then you lift your hair up, because energy gets stuck under our hair. So we smudge underneath our hair, the long hair, and then you lift your foot up. There we go, and then your other foot. There we go. And then that's a blessing. And then my teacher Mario goes like you're done. You want to try?
No.
Okay. All right. So for you, and you can go like this. And kind of roll it around your shoulders. Down, you can lift your foot. There you go. All clean. So we say, O great spirit of the east, we turn to you where the sun comes up, from where the power of light and refreshment comes. Everything that is born comes up in this direction, the birth of babies, the birth of puppies, the birth of ideas, and the birth of friendship. O spirit of the east, let the color of fresh rising in our life be glory to you. Great spirit of light, come to me out of the east with the power of the rising sun. Let there be light in my words. Let there be light on my path that I walk. Let me remember always that you give the gift of a new day, and never let me be burdened with sorrow by not starting over again. And then we face the south. The south is the spirit of all that is warm and gentle. And we ask for the spirit of the south to comfort us when we are cold and tired. Unfold us like gentle breezes that unfold the leaves, and give us the warmth so that we can grow closer to the earth in warmth. Help us to be a part of the strand of life that creates the web. Whatever we do to ourselves, we do to the web. And then we turn to the west. O great spirit of the west, where the sun goes down each day to come up the next, we turn to you in praise of sunsets and thanksgivings for change. You are a powerful cycle which pulls us to transformation. Keep us open to life's changes as we face the direction of sundown. Let us remember every day that a moment will come when our sun goes down. And then we face to the north. The spirit of the north gives us strength and the power to bear what is cold and harsh in life. We come like the buffalo, ready to receive the winds that truly can be overwhelming at times. Make me courageous when the cold wind falls upon me, great spirit of the north. Give me strength and endurance for everything that is harsh and everything that makes me squint. Let me move through life ready to take what it comes from the north. And then we call in the center from above, and we give thanks to the great creator and all that is. And we call in the center from below, and we thank the Mother Earth and all the nature world for giving us the wisdom and the elders and the connection that we have. Aho. Plants can sing. And this is a recording that my friend Janice, who's an herbalist out in Michigan, made of plants singing after I did a class like this out at the Great Lakes Herb Fair some years ago. And I played the recording of some plants singing at a retreat center called Damnher, and she was so intrigued by it that she went out and bought the equipment, the biofeedback equipment and receiver, so that she could make her own music with the plants.
Is that what you hook up to the plant? Because my sister purchased something like that, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
That she hooked up to different plants.
And they sound different.
Yes.
Yeah, so this one, turn it on. This is basil. Can you visualize basil as you're hearing this, what it looks like? It's got that kind of succulent, roundy leaf. The way that it has volatile oils that are more gentle than like a mint or something like that. It is a mint plant, but this one different. Somebody different. Where's my list? Does sound kind of spiky. This is sage. Kind of darker and deeper, huh? This is oregano. And think about like the difference between basil and like the depth and the complexity of oregano. You know, in a cooking herb, it's more dark, it's more bitter, it's more like this. I like the way it goes up because it makes me think of how the rosemary, it looks like little ladder steps, kind of. I got one more. Sounds kind of like rosemary, but it's different, isn't it? It's more melodic. more melodic, more. This one's lavender. So everybody has their own voice, and can change their voice up, down, loud, soft. So when you're out in the fields, if you're like, you keep looking at whatever tree, whatever bush, if you just keep like noticing the same, same bunch of different plants of the same kind, try trying to listen in different ways. Sit down maybe with them, or ask if you can pick one and hang on to it, and take some time to see what the message is. Because we get those hits and we get called to interact, and that's how we learn stuff. That's how we, one of the ways that we learn stuff. So,
Have that happen.
yeah.
You just can't take your eyes off it.
Uh-huh.
You're drawn to it.
Uh-huh. Like you have to go there and say, what are you trying to tell me? Yeah. So, what we're going to do right now is try and connect. And if you want to try and keep a notebook handy in case you get some little messages, once you have you had practice with meditating before? Kind of a little bit. So one of my teachers, in some other classes where I've done some vision work, would say, if you're going to try and write something down, once you're kind of, with your eyes a little bit more closed and things, just barely peek them open. Just write down just a couple of words that'll trigger your memory so that you can kind of stay in that meditation vibe or that place. And then, just give yourself a little note to jog your memory later. Also things like, if you're not sure what's showing up for you, like, well, it's a flower, it's pink, it has 5 leaves, or something like that, you can just draw a quick little picture, and then we can maybe sort that out a little bit more further later, if it doesn't come with the questions that you're going to ask. Okay? And let's see. Some plants are helper guides, like plantain. I was told that it sometimes will come first and then like take your hand and lead you to whoever you're supposed to go sit with. So if you start out with one imagery or something comes, but then it starts to shift, that's okay. Don't start going, oh, I'm making stuff up, or oh, what's happening? I'm losing my concentration. Just kind of go with the imagery and just kind of follow it along like a cork bobbing on the water, and see if you can just stay open to that. Yeah, just try and have fun with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a few moments to center and ground and connect first to the Earth's biofield. So get as comfortable as you can in your seat and put your feet flat on the floor. And then you're going to take some nice, slow, deep breaths, as much as your own body feels like doing. And as you exhale, breathe out just a little longer than when you inhaled. So breathe in, gently inhale, and then slightly longer exhale. Just a few times, in and out. Keep breathing in this way. Begin to notice with more awareness where your breath is filling you The breath of life is flowing through and to your entire body, to the community of all of your cells and the extracellular matrix that helps them to communicate with each other and work together. Keep breathing. Bring this expanded awareness of your entire body, the macrocosm and the microcosms, back to the very center core of you. Somewhere deep in the very middle of you, on the deepest level of your being. I invite you now to visualize, sense, or feel a very bright point of light, the very center of your body. Breathe into that point of light and notice it's getting brighter and brighter with every breath, a little brighter. Begin to notice that it appears to resemble a seed of light. And as with any seed that has been planted into the earth at this time of year is beginning to open up, you notice the light of your breath is helping your seed to open. You see it crack open with a light green hue, and a rootlet begins to tendril out and grow stronger and more thick. And you feel those rootlets growing out and down through your pelvis, through your legs, growing as they move down through your feet, down through the floor, and into the ground below. Your roots of light grow down into the earth, and the energy of the earth rises to meet them, to fill them. Feel it flowing into you, just as sap rises up into the cells of the trees, like an artesian wellspring that's never-ending flow is filling every cell that it passes. Notice the light that is filling you has a beautiful green hue, just like the light of your heart chakra. Let this green hue enfold you as it expands out through your entire biofield. You begin to notice that this green hue is becoming more defined. Shapes of leaves, so many different shapes and layers of leaves and branches and stems and petals and flowers. You see the view that is opening into a beautiful green field, surrounded by trees and bushes and so many different herbs and flowers. The layers of green that are surrounding and filling you and the vibrant colors are so absolutely perfect. You decide to move into this space and find a place to sit and be one with it for a while. And after searching around a little, you find the most perfect spot. You can feel the warm sun on your head and the very slight breeze creating the most comfortable, relaxing mood. as you settle in, you allow yourself to be in receiving. You are ready to receive any guidance or insights that would be helpful for you at this time. Look around. What energy is becoming more specific in your awareness from the myriad of plant life around you? Is there a certain green friend drawing your attention? Can you pick up a fragrance? Is there texture? Can you notice any shapes or patterns? What color are you noticing? Is there an energy that's beside you? Or are you being invited to get up and move towards a particular flower, bush, or tree? We can ask questions. Ask for a name. Ask how it can help you today. Is there a way that you can interact with this being in the future? It's okay if it seems like maybe it's not clear right now. This is the first time. Ask if there's a way to find in person, in this physical plane, when we're done with our meditation. Where does it grow? Can I find you in Commerce? Are you in the bulk bin at the co-op? Is there any way I can help you? Take a few more minutes to sit and communicate. If there's anything else to share at this time. We know we can access this place in this spiritual way anytime we need to or want to. We can feel the warmth of the sun on our head has moved, and we understand that it's time to return. We thank our elders, our green helpers from the natural world, for sharing wisdom and time with us and love, and bid goodbye for now. The field, the forests, and the flowers begin to fade back into that vibrant green hue, and your awareness gently comes back to your heart and to your body and your seat in the circle. And as we return to our day in this human community, we are grateful to the elders in our herbal community and to the earth. I have a little dedication to read as we're kind of coming back to here. This was anonymous. I don't know who wrote it. It says, to all green, growing, flowering ones of this beautiful planet, who embody the universal creative healing energy, and with each moment humbly assume the grand task of transforming light into life, and who patiently bear the crude assaults and insults of our misguided ignorance, all in the dream of awakening. Without their conscious living presence, nothing, no breath, no food, no life, no delight. None of our early endeavors would be possible. How did that feel?
I couldn't relax enough because if I did, I would have been asleep.
Were you half enough relaxed to get any insights?
Yeah.
Do you feel like sharing?
My feet floating a little bit.
Your feet floating?
Yeah, they just kind of went like this up off the floor a little,
Yeah.
floated around. Feel negative energy draining on my fingertips.
Nice.
And this little guy was talking to me.
Plantain?
No, the face.
The
You
face.
see the face? The two eyes, and a little bit of the
Yeah.
mouth covered by a shadow.
Okay. So the plantain, the face in the plantain was talking to you? What did it say? Something just for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Very good. That's fun.
Very relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get any insights?
Not a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Not really insight, just real relaxed.
Okay.
Wasn't getting a lot.
Sometimes it's just breathing the experience of the green and the meditation and listening to the words and kind of practicing being in that space. It's a lot easier to do something like this outside sometimes too, when you're actually in the field.
Kept envisioning planting with my granddaughters, like teaching
Okay.
the soil.
That's kind of a big insight, in my opinion.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess. I mean,
Yeah,
we need to learn.
right.
So,
And you are
yeah.
the elder. You are the teacher. I don't know. That's kind of a big message.
Yeah. I was expecting different, something different.
I think that's our practice of keeping open to it. Make no assumptions about what's going to show up. Yeah. Fun.
Yeah.
What are you going to plant?
Well, for one, I had already
How was it for you?
It was nice. It was nice. I felt like something came to me,
Uh-huh.
and it was a plant I didn't recognize it was a flower,
Uh-huh.
but it had narrow leaves that were almost reminiscent of like palm leaves.
Okay.
And it bent over, and it was pink and red, and at first I thought it was a hibiscus,
Uh-huh.
but the petals were strings. They weren't flat leaves.
Okay.
And it did have, there was a bird of paradise behind it.
Oh, so it's
It was like blocking,
sure.
but they were both very quiet.
Huh. Well, you'll have to ask some more questions. Huh. So it felt kind of like a tropical-y sort of plant,
No,
or?
the plant felt tropical, but it felt out of place.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Huh. Interesting.
'Cause it was like it just popped in front of me.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Will be interesting to see if more percolates in. Yeah. Keep us posted.
I will.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody have any questions about, practicing any of these kinds of things, or what we talked about, or what we did? Okay. All right. So 2 weeks from now, we will go back to more of this is this herb, and this is what it's good for, and this is what you can go look around for outside right now. But in the meantime, break out those handouts, and I'll get you that one, and then start looking, because stuff is popping up all over the place.
If you're going to do a clipping, let's say on a tree, a cedar tree,
Uh-huh.
would you recommend cleaning your clippers in between each tree?
Yeah. Somehow. At least wipe them off a little bit,
What's that?
You mean like from cedar tree to cedar tree, or just any? Yeah.
Cedar to like maybe
Yeah.
cedar to oak, whatever
Sure.
you're doing.
Just to, because you want to keep things separated and clean. Like what if one kind of volatile oil from the cedars, the next herb doesn't really appreciate having on its surface, and then you kind of can create maybe some unhappiness. Like cleaning your knife in between cutting tomatoes and cheese or something, I don't know. Yeah. Just wipe them off at least. I do. Good question. I guess maybe we're done then, huh?